Welcome to the Week 10 Start Sit Show. Rewinders, please hit that like, subscribe, and comment. Throw your questions in the chat. I'm your host, the Birdman, Chris Lemke. We've got lots of fun action today in Week 10. We've got a good Monday night game. Eagles traveling to Green Bay to take on the Packers. And so right now, I want to help you out, though, getting those tough start-sit decisions down for your Week 10 matchups. Lots of tough choices here. We will get through all of the matchups and help you do it that way. That way you understand some of the game environments. Last week, we went through all of the game environments, and we pumped up the Chicago-Cincinnati game, and obviously that one was an explosion, so hopefully that helped you out. I suggested Alec Pierce for someone. Alec Pierce, hopefully you started him again. He got in the end zone here in Germany against the Falcons. We've got the Falcons in the lead right now over the Colts, 17-13. So we've got a great nail-biter going on there over in Berlin. Got a question from Cole here right away. I try to hit the questions immediately as soon as I possibly can. I will go through all the matchups here, but if you've got questions, throw them down there. That's what I'm most importantly here for, is to help you out. We've got Cole with Pop Douglas, Kendrick Bourne, or Jerry Jeudy. Well, I don't like Jerry Jeudy. He's been underperforming just insanely. I know that the Jets lost a couple of players this week with the trade deadline. One, and most importantly, Sauce Gardner, who probably would be guarding Jerry Jeudy, but still, I like Quinshon Judkins today to hammer the Jets defense. So I'd lean more towards Pop or Kendrick Bourne in this case. I like Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne had 150 yards against the Rams last time they played each other. If you remember that Thursday night game, one of Mac Jones' first games in there. I'd slightly lean Kendrick Bourne over Pop Douglas. I know that Kayshon Boutte will be out, but I think Bourne has the opportunity to pop more. So I don't know that Pop is in line for another 50-yard touchdown like last week. Working on an Addison and 27 mid to late first for Rashee Rice and a third. Thoughts? Love the dynasty trade action here. Smash that. I love Rashee Rice. Going forward, I don't know. He easily is in my top 5 for wide receivers rest of season. I know he's out this week, so that would hurt you for your matchup this week, Cole. But going forward for the remaining, 4 weeks you'll have of the regular season, and then the postseason especially, love Rashee Rice. Jordan Addison, I don't hate at all, but, J.J. McCarthy coming in, they're learning each other out, and he's the number 2 there. Rashee Rice is the bona fide number 1. Wouldn't be surprised if, going forward, starting week 11 throughout, that he's wide receiver 1. He could battle Puka. They're very similar styles in that they're just target hogs on their squads. Cole, I'd be all over that move. You flexing from Doc's Freaks? You flexing a Dunze or Rashad White? Ooh. Well, let's get into the first matchup here. And that would be New England at Tampa, one of the noon or 1 o'clock Eastern starts. We've got 7 of those games on the slate for you, 4 of which have real nice game environments, high over-unders, 3 of which are real stinkers, and you want to avoid guys, especially for your flexes, that are in bad game environments. So let's get into this one. The Bucs are favored by 2.5. It's a 48 over-under. Of course, we've got Baker Mayfield going up against Drake May, 2 possible MVP candidates. Now, Baker hasn't played very well the week 6 through 8 right before his bye, but we'll see if this week is a good bounce back game for him. It is a good environment for him to bounce back. as New England is number 1 against the rush, and Tampa is number 8 against the rush. So I don't love the running backs in this game. Now, Rachaad White probably gets a little more receiving work than Travion Henderson, just because, well, Mike Vrabel is pissing all of us off, and I don't know why he doesn't play Travion Henderson more. Terrell Jennings last week saw just as much volume as Travion. Jennings got his 1 goal line attempt into the end zone. Travion didn't, so I think Jennings even outscored him. But, if you have to, I'd still play Henderson. Same kind of deal with Rachaad White, being that the Patriots are so good against the run. However, Rachaad White does work into the pass game. That's sort of how Tampa works their run game. If it's not working by handing off, they kind of just dump it off to their running backs. You've seen it with Bucky Irving, seen it with Rachaad White in the past. So I don't hate Rachaad White in this case, but I am looking forward to a bounce back from Rome Odunze this week. Now, other guys in that New England-Tampa matchup, we've got Stephon Diggs should have a decent target share this week with the Kayshon Boutte injury. Pop Douglas will get his fair share of targets too, as will Hunter Henry. Again, this is a good Bucs run D, so expect Drake May to be throwing today. Emeka Egbuka, awesome matchup here. I know it'll be against Christian Gonzalez, but Drake London just scored 3 touchdowns last week. So the Bucs, again, they're going to be throwing today. You can take flyers on Cade Otton and Tez Johnson as well. With Mike Evans and Chris Godwin out, Tez Johnson has been getting plenty of opportunity in those situations, so he's a solid flex for you today. Other than that, Terrell Jennings and Sean Tucker, I'd probably lean against this week. All right. Arian asks, which one do I cut in a 12-man PPR 2-quarterback? Freiermuth, Jatavian Sanders, Jordan Mason, or Kyle Williams? Ooh, well, is there any tight end premium, Arian? Because if there's not, I'm going to assume there's not. You didn't put any down. Look, Freiermuth and JT Sanders are both in 2 of the grossest tight end situations in the league. Like, they both are in these ugly 3-headed monsters. Freiermuth, oh God. I would lean towards cutting one of those 2. Kyle Williams, I actually like, kind of, not necessarily today, but going forward. He got higher snap share last week, so he may be on the rise. We'll just put it that way. As far as roster construction goes, the Jordan Mason, I definitely want to keep because that's a running back and we'll get into Aaron Jones's injury. Aaron Jones, it looks like he's going to play today. One of the major injuries of note. But, this week is a real rough one for the buys. We've got Cincinnati, Kansas City, Dallas, and Tennessee on buys. But between the Bengals, Chiefs, and Cowboys, those are a lot of big name guys. You got Rashee Rice, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Pickens, Higgins. You got Mahomes and Dak on buys this week. So I know that it's going to be tough to set lineups for some of you. Now, looking at it, between Freiermuth and JT Sanders, roster construction-wise, I just don't love to load up at the tight end position. And especially ones from Pittsburgh and Carolina, because, like I said, they're one of the worst situations you want to get involved in tight end-wise. The Rams are even worse. They have 4 tight ends. What are we doing here? So between Freiermuth and JT Sanders, I would probably just go keep JT Sanders. He's got a little more upside. Actually, you know what, though? I really don't like the way Bryce Young's been throwing the ball. I would stick with the Muth. Yeah. If it's Dynasty, keep JT Sanders. All right, Arian. So sorry, it's a tough call between those two. Really, they're both ugly. But I would hang on to Kyle Williams. He's got an opportunity here to move up and get some more targets. So yeah, I'd hang on to Kyle Williams there. Definitely Jordan Mason. All right. Go ahead, throw more questions down there in the chat. We're going to move on to the next noon/1 o'clock p.m. matchup, and that one is the New York Giants visiting the Chicago Bears in the Windy City, which it will be a Windy City game today. Every day has great football weather, right? Well, today is going to be ugly in Chicago, but that doesn't mean they can't score points. Bears are favored by 4.5 with a 46.5 over under. Jackson Dart is just literally on fire. I would be firing him up. Caleb Williams coming off of last week's performance. I'd play him for sure. The Giants are 28th in defense in points per game. Bears are 29th. So I don't care if the weather is bad. These teams are going to find a way to score points on each other. DeAndre Swift looks like he is going to play. We haven't received anything yet that he's out. Just looking at the updates. This is why I like to start this show right around this time, because this is exactly the time we start to get the injury updates. Yes, DeAndre Swift is healthy, so he will play. That puts a damper on our Kyle Monangai fiasco. But again, in this game environment, I don't mind flexing either of them. If you have better options, go with better options, right? Same with Singletary and Tracy. Singletary, of course, got more volume than Tyron Tracy last week because Tracy was playing poorly. Here we go. Michael Hergott asks, PPR, Monangai or Rashad White? Oh, thanks. I'm going to go Rashad White here. He's going to probably get more volume than Monangai. I like both game environments. I know that the Patriots' run D is very stingy, but I think Rashad White gets plenty of work in the pass game here today. That's a close one, Mike. Good luck with it, but I would slightly lean Rashad White in that one just because Swift is playing now. If Swift was out, it'd be Monangai as a smash for sure. And you've got another one here, Mike, T-Mac or Rome. Okay, so T-Mac we're going to get into. McMillan has a hamstring injury. He is going to play, or at least he's leaning towards playing. We don't have a quote-unquote healthy update yet from Sleeper, but I think with that hammy, with that game environment, it's the Panthers hosting the Saints. It's one of the lowest over-unders of the week. I think we're looking at a real ugly game. Like McMillan, you're praying for a touchdown from Tet if you start him. Okay, I'm looking at like 4 for 60 best case scenario in a game like today. So Rome, on the other hand, has the opportunity for a huge performance. Now, I know he was shut out last week, right? But the team scored 47 points. Okay, that means the offense is rolling. Rome dropped a couple of balls. Otherwise, he would have had, at least something last week. And so, look, the guy didn't forget how to play football. He just dropped a couple of passes last week. I'm firing up Rome in that situation, Mike. Good luck with that. All right. Thank you for the question. Keep them rolling, fellas. That's what I'm here for. I'm going to keep rolling through these matchups, but keep firing away with your chat in the chat with your questions. I'm going to hit them up ASAP for you so you can make your choices and win your ball games today, unless you're playing against me. Next up. Oh, wait. I want to finish up on the New York-Chicago matchup. Singletary and Tracy, both kind of ugly. I don't know. I don't think that Tracy lost his job. Okay, so if you're deciding between Tracy and Singletary, I would still lean Tracy this week as the start until we see Devin Singletary actually take the first snap of the game. Then we can change our minds for next week. But I don't think that it's killing you if you're leaving either of them on the bench this week. Arian asks, starts it Kamara, Woody, or Tracy? Ooh. All right. So Tracy has the best game environment. Kamara is ugly game in an ugly game, and he's been performing just grossly. He might be in line for a few more catches today. I know his Vegas over-under for catches is like 1.5. I think I would go over on that, but I can't believe that we're at that point with Alvin Kamara. Woody Marks, another low over-under game. It's at like 37.5. Jacksonville against Houston, that is. Jacksonville's run defense isn't too stingy, though. And you've got Davis Mills starting for the Texans. I'd actually kind of lean Woody over Tracy just for that reason alone. So, yeah, Arian, I'm going to fire up Woody Marks in that case over Tyron Tracy. Don't kill me if that one's really tough. That one's close. All right. But I'd go Woody. I'd go Woody today. All right. Next up, let me go to my rankings, actually, because that one's so tight. I want to see what my rankings were on that one. I'm pretty sure I had Woody ranked ahead of Tyron Tracy. Oh, they're close. 25 and 27. Oof. I like Woody Marks. I don't know. I might have to change that one. Go Tracy. That's going to be a higher scoring game. You got to play with the fun in that one. Jackson Dart is moving that offense. We don't know that Davis Mills is even going to get him into the red zone today. Honestly, that game, yeah, we're going to go with the game environment, just like last week. I pumped up the game environments. We're going to go that way. Arian, go with Tyron Tracy. There you go. All right. Next up, another noon, 1:00 game. We've got Buffalo visiting Miami, and the Bills are favored by 9.5 with a 50 over under, one of the highest this week, if not the highest. Buffalo is number 2 against the pass, so this is a game to sit Tua for sure. You still can play Jalen Waddle because if anybody gets anything in the Dolphins passing game, it's going to be Waddle. Some dump offs to Achane, but otherwise you're looking at a gross game for the Miami offense. I know they're coming off of a decent performance, a pretty solid performance actually last week against Atlanta. But the Bills' pass defense is a little more intimidating. So I would play Shakir and Kincaid if you have to. Again, this is going to be a good high-scoring game, but I think it's because James Cook pops off really well this week. You can expect probably a rushing touchdown from Josh Allen as well. Devon Achane, good matchup here. The Bills' rush defense is not good. Okay, Ed Oliver's still out. I think he's out for the rest of the year. And this Bills defense has been giving up chunks of yards on the ground. So you can start Achane and James Cook with confidence today. Now, again, the passing volume, though, might not be great in this atmosphere. Even though there's a high over-under, I think it's going to be a lot of rushing today. So Jalen Waddle, I'd still play because he's still like a top 12 option. I think he's over 14 points a game since Tyreek's been out. He didn't have a great game last week, but the previous 4 were very solid. And James Cook, yes, he was banged up earlier this week, but he is good to go. All right. Next up, Baltimore traveling to Minneapolis to take on the Vikings. Baltimore favored by 4 with a 49 over under. Another great game environment here. Baltimore, can we really say this with no injuries on the report? Baltimore, no injuries to report. Aaron Jones, the big thing here, he's questionable with a shoulder injury, but is going to play, so that hurts Jordan Mason. Any Jordan Mason comeback attempts here, he didn't look good the last couple of weeks. Aaron Jones, when he plays, he's getting more and more action. I suppose in a desperation flex, sure, you could throw Mason in there. Baltimore and Minnesota are ranked 20th and 21st against the run. Baltimore is 28th against the pass. So that means, of course, you're starting Justin Jefferson, but I do like Jordan Addison today. So Addison, for instance, I plugged him in over Khalil Shakir in one of my lineups. I switched it just about 30 minutes ago. All right. So that's one example of where I like Jordan Addison over someone in a similar range, right? TJ Hawkinson, sure, fire him up today like that. It should be, this is one of those games where I just see as a real nice, both teams are in line to get close to 30 points, if not more today. This should be a fun one. Hopefully JJ McCarthy continues his role after beating the Detroit Lions last week. Next up, we've got one of those gross games. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but it's Cleveland at the New York Jets. Jets, of course, traded away 2 stud defensive players in Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner last week. Look for this to be the Quinshon Judkins show for the Cleveland Browns. I don't want to start any other Browns other than maybe David Njoku here. Harold Fano is banged up all week. It looks like he's going to give it a go, but I'd still lean towards Njoku if you're debating between the two, I guess. But I do kind of like Njoku here. It's going to be an ugly game, but Dylan Gabriel just throws little dump-off passes. I'm definitely not playing Jerry Jeudy here, even without Sauce Gardner. As for the Jets, Breece Hall, you got to play him pretty much if you own him. But just a forewarning here, Breece Hall didn't get dealt this week, and he's looking for a contract. And he knows he's not going to get it from the Jets. He's looking to play for somebody better next year, which in all reality isn't that hard. But anyway, the point being is Breece Hall's going to conserve his body. He gets a chipped fingernail, this guy's going to want to go on IR. All right. So just monitor that. Of course, if you have him this week, you're going to have to start Breece Hall. I know that. Now, Garrett Wilson, again, kind of similar to Jalen Waddle. I'm going to play Garrett Wilson if I've got him, just because he gets 50% of the targets from Justin Fields. So even if he only throws it 12 times, that's still 6 targets. But it's going to be an ugly one. I do not want to watch this game. But I am firing up Quinshon Judkins. I am starting Breece Hall. I am starting Garrett Wilson. Other than that, try to avoid this one as much as possible. All right. Next up, we've got 2 more ugly ones to get through for the early slate. Saints traveling to the Carolina Panthers. Panthers favored by 5.5 with a 38.5 over under. Rico Dowdle smash start this week. Kamara, as I mentioned earlier to Arian with his question, shaky start. Chris Olave, you want to play him. Rashid Shaheed, of course, getting dealt earlier this week to the Seahawks. That opens up the door for even more Chris Olave opportunities. The Saints probably will be trailing. I don't want to put the Panthers into some elite team quadrant here, but the Panthers did just beat the Packers. Okay, they grinded it out. It was super ugly. But Romeo Doubs still caught a few balls, and that's kind of similar to how Chris Olave will operate today. Devon Vele is now their number 2 wideout. If you're in a super deep league, that's somebody you could look at scooping up. And if you have to throw him into your flex, it's a desperation flex, fine. Tet, again, I'm looking like this is going to be, he's got a bad hamstring. Bryce Young didn't throw a lot last week. He didn't look great. I think he finished with 101 yards total last week. Expect kind of the same thing from the Panthers today. When it comes down to Tet, it depends who else you've got. Mike Hergot here, he had Rome versus Tet. I'm going to lean Rome. Way better game environment there for Rome Odunze. So it comes down to who your other options are with Tet if you're starting them. Only play the quarterbacks in this one, Tyler Shook and Bryce Young, if you absolutely have to. Next up, last gross game, I promise. Jacksonville visiting the Houston Texans. Of course, C.J. Stroud out with a concussion. He got smashed into the turf last week when he tried to slide. Davis Mills in. Start him only if you have to. Brian Thomas, Travis Hunter out. That means more work for Parker Washington, who had a solid game last week. I still think he's in line for a good amount of targets here against this real stingy Houston Texans defense. So Parker Washington, though the volume is looking good, I don't know how good. I mean, we're looking at maybe an 8 catch for 37-yard type performance deal here. Jacoby Myers coming over from the Raiders at the trade deadline. I don't know how much he'll play this week. So, you know, with those two out and Diami Brown out also with a concussion, like Jacoby Myers, he's going to have to play. And so I don't hate it. I mean, yes, they're playing the Texans, but I mean, some guys are going to catch balls here. Nico is in, and I would play him with pretty much confidence. I mean, Davis Mills, when he's had to play in the past, has hyper-targeted Nico Collins, so it should be a decent game for him. Again, I don't expect a whole lot of scoring here. Another 13-10 type ball game. Dalton Schultz, though, he should get decently targeted as well. I would just make sure to bench all the rest of the Texans wide receivers today. Woody here I have as an okay start, and Travis Etienne the same. Again, they're both going up against tough defenses, so I don't love either. Tootin and Nick Chubb, really only if you absolutely have to here. Then let's move on to the late games Sunday afternoon. We'll start it off with the big one. We've got the Rams traveling to the Niners. Brock Purdy looking like he's still listed as questionable, but like the Niners have already announced Mac Jones as a starter. So there you go. Don't start Brock Purdy. The Rams offense firing on all cylinders. Fire up all your Rams in this one. Puka, Devontae, Kyron Williams, and of course, Matthew Stafford. As for the Niners, we still got a decent amount of injuries here. Purdy out, of course. Then Ricky Pearsall has been announced as out. We're still waiting on Brandon Ayuk to ever come back. But that means good environment for George Kittle, good environment for Kendrick Bourne and Juwan Jennings. So I would fire up all of those guys. Kendrick Bourne, of course, is lower down on most people's lists, but he did have that 150-yard game earlier in the year. Now, I'm not expecting that this week. Juwan Jennings wasn't playing back in week 4, I believe it was. But I still think Kendrick Bourne's in line for a decent amount of targets. As I mentioned, who was I debating here with Kendrick Bourne? It was Kendrick Bourne, Pop Douglas, or Jerry Jeudy. Yeah. So I still like Bourne there in that scenario. Okay. Christian McCaffrey, obvious start. He's going to be the engine for that offense today. Next up, we've got the Detroit Lions traveling to Washington to take on the Jaden Daniels-less Commanders. Detroit favored by 8, 49 over under. With Jaden Daniels out, that means Marcus Mariota is getting the start again. I don't mind Mariota. Good, decent, super flex play if you've got to. I've got him ranked around quarterback 15 this week. Even with Terry McLaurin out, that just means more work for Deebo Samuel. Jalen Lane will get a good opportunity as Luke McCaffrey is out with a collarbone injury, it was. And the other thing to note, JCM, just keep him on the bench for this one. This is going to be a bad game environment for the Washington run game. Don't mind playing Chris Rodriguez if you have to. He's been announced team captain. He was announced earlier. I don't know what that really means, but every few games, Chris Rodriguez pops off with a decent performance. I think he could do that this week for you. So again, desperation flex, go ahead and start Chris Rodriguez if you really have to. Both Detroit running backs, start them this week Either of them could go for a couple touchdowns. I look for this one to be potentially over by halftime. Again, they've got the over-under at 49. I could see like a 35-17-ish type ball game, right, where Mariota gets a lot of garbage time yardage late. Zach Ertz should get plenty of dump-offs. Start all of your Lions. It's hard to say in a type of game like this which ones are going to get into the end zone. Jamison Williams has a good opportunity to catch a long one or two here. Amon-Ra will do his thing. Sam Laporta has been hot lately. So just start all of your Lions with confidence in this matchup. The Commanders, they're going to have a little bit of a letdown, I think, with the Jaden Daniels injury. They looked like garbage last week against Seattle. There's no reason to think they're going to all of a sudden just play better. Plus, Detroit's got a little bit of a revenge factor here too, right? I mean, after all, the Commanders were the team that ended their awesome season last year. So I think Detroit and Dan Campbell is really going to drop the hammer on Dan Quinn this week. All right. Let's get into the final two matchups of the week. Starting with the Sunday night football game, should be a good one. Steelers traveling to LA to take on the Chargers. Chargers favored by 2.5 with a 44.5 over under. I like this one to get a little crazy. I would start Jalen Warren, Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf for the Steelers. Avoid their tight ends because that is just an absolute three-headed, gross monster. Only if you have to, due to bye weeks, would I plug any of those Steelers tight ends into my lineup. As for the Chargers, you can start Kamani Vidal. Jared Patterson got in and actually looked better last week, but Vidal had looked good the previous couple of weeks. Again, we've got a lot of these backfields right now with two-headed monsters, and their teams, when their lead back is out, they're really just going to play the hot hand. Like Kamani Vidal had a couple of really nice weeks, don't get me wrong, but it's not like the Chargers are paying him as their lead running back, okay, right? If Jared Patterson's looking better, they're just going to play Jared Patterson, okay? And so I wouldn't start Vidal with utmost confidence, but again, this should be a good game environment. I like it. The Chargers have been throwing the ball a ton. They're throwing way over neutral passing rate is extremely high. So fire up all of your Chargers receiving options. Oronde Gadsden for sure. Ladd McConkey for sure. Quentin Johnston, if you're in a decision with flex, guess who comes down to, but I do like this game environment to get a little crazy. And Keenan Allen as well, I would start. So, again, last week, Quentin Johnston got in the end zone. We don't know which one of them is going to – it's up to the defense which one they want to leave open. Justin Herbert's just going to find that guy. So, start them all. Hope that your guy is the one that gets into the end zone is the best advice I can give you with the Chargers wide receivers. I do expect a little more volume for Ladd. And when it comes to Keenan Allen, I don't know. Oronde Gadsden's kind of taken over. Keenan Allen was basically the tight end is what he was playing, right? And Oronde Gadsden's just been blowing up lately, and I don't expect that to change at all. Heading into the Monday night game, we've got the Eagles traveling to Green Bay, take on the Packers. Packers favored by 1 in this one, 45.5 over under. Do like the game environment here as well. Packers, of course, Tucker Kraft out with that knee injury. That is rough for the Packers offense. He was the real engine there. They're going to have to lean on Romeo Doubs more. Of course, Luke Musgrave now gets an opportunity. The problem there is, he might get like 5 targets, but he doesn't have the yak ability that Tucker Kraft has. So don't expect 5 or 6 catches for 90 yards from Luke Musgrave here. You're going to be looking at more like 3 or 4 catches for 30 yards. If he gets into the end zone, great. I understand if you just had Tucker Kraft, if it was a shallow or small roster and you only had Kraft and you had to pick up Musgrave, fine. That's who you got to play and roll with the rest of the year. That's okay. Because once you get past the top 5, 6 tight ends, it's all a crapshoot as to who's going to get in the end zone anyway, right? So Musgrave's a decent flyer. Christian Watson, I like his boom bust potential here this week. Again, I like this game to get up there in points. I'm not talking in the 30s for each team, but I think they'll both get into the 20s. So it should be a decent game there, points-wise. Now, Jordan Love, he did throw 3 picks against the Eagles last year. They have a good secondary, great pass rush. Jalen Carter's healthy. So, yeah, the Eagles' defense could dominate, but I think that the Packers, if they have to scrap the run game, I think that Jordan Love could be in trouble. Ideally for the Packers, the run game's working well, and then they're able to go over the top with Christian Watson. Jordan Love likes to play aggressive with his pass attempts. Doesn't always take the short, safe option. So that's why I'm kind of liking Christian Watson in this game. As for the Eagles, just you can start all of the main guys. Hurts, Saquon. I know Saquon had a little bit of an injury, but he's good to go. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, get them all in there. I think that the Eagles can put up points against this stingy Packers defense. Again, this is just a great matchup. I want to have guys involved in the game if it gets a little out of control. Sometimes you got 2 good teams, and, man, the offense just start humming. It doesn't matter how good the defenses are. And I think this is that kind of game, similar to the Sunday night game as well with Pittsburgh and the Chargers. Both teams have pretty solid defenses. I just like the environment to get a little crazy come the second half, and that's where Herbert will start slinging it all over the place. And we've got Jonathan Taylor busting a super long touchdown run here. How many? Oh, my God. 83 yards for Jonathan Taylor. Wow. And the Colts just took the lead with 6 minutes to go here in this Berlin game. But you love getting up early. Hey, I love football anytime, all time, any day. It's always good football weather, except in a dome. But then it's more fun for fantasy, right? All right. Any more start-sit questions we got out there? I hope you started Alec Pierce this week. Alec was up to where is he at right now? Let me see. Alec Pierce still sitting on 4 catches for 84 yards. All right, but JT now over 200 yards on the day, 83-yard touchdown. Just had 2 touchdowns. Man, he's making Bijan look a little less than. Bijan, 15 carries for 81 yards. Drake London, 5 for 89 and a touchdown so far for Atlanta. They're going to have to try and make the comeback here in this one. Let me check the injury updates here to try and give you some help there. If you've got anybody that you're wondering on. Of course, Ted McMillan is going to play. Let's see the latest here. As for the Packers, their wide receivers, Matthew Golden, just to note, he's questionable with a shoulder. Dontavian Wicks questionable with a calf. Let's see. I'm going to look up DeAndre Swift again because it's saying that he's more of a game time decision. So Hergot with your Monungai and Rashad White decision. If DeAndre Swift if DeAndre Swift is out, I would start Monungai in that game for sure. There it is. 24 seconds ago. DeAndre Swift is active today against the Giants. Okay, so yes, Hergot, I would go Rachaad White over Monangai. I love Monangai, and I've got plenty of him. And in fact, Hergot, you're my co-owner in one league. We just traded for Monangai, but that's a best ball league, so it doesn't matter as long as he does well. We're good to go. All right. Anything about Fannin yet? Let's see what I've got here. Because, yeah, he was a very highly questionable start. I would definitely lean David Njoku this week. But, again, you might not have Njoku on that team. Who are your other options for one, K-Lest? Who's your other option than Fannin? Last update, I don't have a super new update here. Harold Fannin is active. There we go. Fannin is active. Okay, so I guess it comes down to, would be either Loveland or Charves. I'm going with Loveland. I love that game environment. I'm going rolling with Colson Loveland. Has been getting more snaps. Obviously blew up last week. Cole Kmet, I'm going to check on Cole Kmet. I know that he had a concussion, I believe, last week, so I don't believe he's playing. And of course, that leads to more snaps for, let's see here, more snaps for Loveland. But even if Cole Kmet is playing, I'm still leaning towards Loveland. Cole Kmet, first person in NFL history to pass concussion protocol in 48 hours. Yeesh. All right. Yeah, I'm leaning Loveland over Fannin for you, K-Lest. And then Zach Charbonnet. Oh, dude, I can't believe you. I don't know if there's a player in the league that I dislike as much as Zach Charbonnet right now. Seattle's offense is humming. Don't get me wrong. And they're taking on the Cardinals today, which is a good game environment. Oh, you know what? I skipped over that one. I apologize. Arizona at Seattle. Seattle's favored by 7. This is good. You brought up Charbonnet. Jacoby Brissett, of course, getting the start for the benched Kyler Murray. I don't care how you want to put this one. That foot injury, he should be back. This is a quote unquote soft benching that's going to lead to a hard benching. I love the Arizona receiving options now in Marv and McBride. Of course, you'd be starting anyway. And even Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson gets some looks now underneath because Jacoby Brissett can actually see him. And so I don't mind the Arizona offense here. The running backs, I guess I'm going to lean DeMarcado if you got to. He was the one that looked better last week. As for Seattle, you asked about Zach Charbonnet. Man, yeah, there you go, K-Lest. I got KW3 all over the place. Same. He was a late snag in the auction. Sure. Yeah, I understand rostering Charbonnet. It's not like, I probably am thinking own him in 2 or 3 leagues myself. It's just, it's so annoying when the guy averages 2 yards a carry and it's right after Kenneth Walker walked him down the whole field. And then Charbonnet gets the goal line opportunity. But with Sam Darnold just slinging it so well, I don't even know how many inside the 5 goal line opportunities they're going to have. This is one where I hope that Kenny Walker finally just busts one and gets in the end zone to save his scoring. So, yeah, I just would lean towards the hot hand here, K-Lest. It is a tough choice there between Fannin, Loveland, and Sharps. I give it to you. I'd lean the hot hand and go with Loveland, though, personally. So I think that in Chicago, As I mentioned this last week, this is around the time of the first year in Detroit with Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell, along with Jared Goff. Their first year, mid-season, was when Jared Goff started clicking and everything started going well. You're welcome, K-Lust, anytime. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe, and you can, well, you did in the chat, but you can throw more comments in. I love it. But this is the time of year when things started clicking for Detroit. I think they started off like 1-8 that year. And then at the end of the year, they rattled off 5, 6, 7 wins in a row, something crazy. And they took that momentum all into the next season. And I think maybe the same kind of thing is happening now with Caleb Williams. Now, they were playing the Bengals last week, so I don't want to get too over my skis here with Caleb Williams' excitement. But, you take away that 58-yard touchdown, which was ridiculous. Loveland still had like 5 for 60. Okay. So that's still a very solid game. Now, I'm not one to normally like the idea of, well, if you took that touchdown away, well, yeah, if you took all of the guys' touchdowns away, they would have scored less points, right? He did score a 58-yard touchdown. He did show his super athleticism in being able to get into the end zone on that play. Like, he had defensive backs chasing him, and he got in from like the 40-yard line. He caught that ball, spun off of him, and took it to the house. So he showed his athleticism there. I like it. And again, with a banged up Fannin, like who's to say he doesn't get banged up in the middle of the game, and then he's only playing half the game in a gross game type environment. So yeah, fire up your Loveland across the board. I think he's top 12 the rest of the season. And I like Fannin as well. I mean, there's a lot of great rookie tight ends. This is one of the best rookie tight end class we've had in recent memory. We've got Tyler Warren absolutely smashing. Rondé Gadsden also absolutely smashing. I mean, those two guys are both like top 5 tight ends right now. Then you've got Fannin, who's knocking on the door of that range. He's more of the possession type player, but that's what we saw in college, and he's doing that now with the Browns. And then Colston Loveland, super young player. Like he just like turned 21 years old. He's 3 years younger than Tyler Warren. Okay. So Loveland, to see what he did last week is just huge. I was not a huge Loveland guy. I did not draft him. I don't own Loveland in any league. I'll be honest. I didn't get him in any redraft format. I don't think I scooped him up in any guillotine league yet, which I'm still in 3. I'm still alive in 3 of them. But if I had Loveland, I'd be very excited to keep playing him the rest of the season for sure. So there you go. That's where I'm at with it. I haven't actively tried to go out and trade for him just because I know the price is going to be pretty steep. Going out and trying to trade for someone, especially a tight end coming off of a 6-catch, 110-yard touchdown, 1 touchdown performance. Like, yeah, you're paying full freight for somebody who may not continue that. Now, I think he will. And so, yeah, I like the Bears offense. I mean, it's going in the right direction. That's for sure. All right. Anybody else? Any other questions? Anybody questions on how about the Rams-Niners game? I mean, I like Mac Jones to put up decent yardage. That's why I mentioned Kendrick Bourne. I like as a super flyer here, along with Christian Watson in the Packers-Eagles game. I like those two as your deeper league flexes with the ability to boom. Who else? I really look at the game environments when I'm looking for those deep flyers, because that's what you're trying to accomplish. This week we've got a lot of big names, as I mentioned earlier, on bye. So you're trying to capture that. Here's one for you in a flex spot: Tez Johnson or Kenny Gainwell. Ooh, Mike, hitting me hard here. You're asking me about Tez. Dude, this is again, I'm gonna lean into the injuries for the Bucs wide receivers, and I'm gonna go Tez Johnson. Tez has gotten at least 8 targets in all of the games since the Mike Evans injury, even in the game before that, I think. So I don't have any reason to believe that Tez isn't going to continue to get those targets. Kenny Gainwell, yes, he looked great when Jaylen Warren was out, but otherwise, what are you really expecting from Kenny Gainwell here, right? So yeah, I'm going to lean Tez Johnson. I like the Tampa New England game to be decently high scoring. I'm thinking it's going to be super tight, 23-24. Really, either way. Of course, I'd prefer Tampa to win, but if they don't, they don't. It wouldn't shock me because New England's a very solid ball club, very well coached. Drake May is getting it. I mean, some people have Drake May as QB1 in Dynasty now, but I think that Baker's going to bounce back here. You got it, Mike. When Tez does a backflip in the end zone, I want to hear you. JRS, we're going with Tet or Henderson full PPR. Ooh, wow. That's probably the toughest one you guys have given me all day. Mills or Jonnu? Davis Mills or Jonnu, half PPR, super flex. Okay, so I'll get back to your JRS because this Hergot question is pretty easy for me, and I'll tell you why. Anytime you're debating for a super flex spot, if it's like 50-50, I am leaning towards the quarterback just because the opportunity is like guaranteed. Jonnu Smith is in that ugly 3-headed monster tight end room that I talked about with Pittsburgh. So, yeah, even here, yes, go Davis Mills. Now, Tet McMillan or Travion Henderson. I'm going to lean. God, that's tough. I'm going to lean Tet, okay? That one, I'm like 51% towards Tet, 49% towards Travion because I do have Travion starting in a couple weeks, but I'm not starting him over Tet McMillan. I'm assuming, obviously, this has to be one of your flex spots and you've got a bunch of buys or whatever. Yeah, I'm going to go with Tet here. I think that Tet has a not so high ceiling here. Neither of these guys have a great ceiling, okay, for this matchup. I think that Tet at least gets his 6 or 7 targets, though. Man, that one's a tough one, JRS. If you want to lean towards Henderson there, I don't blame you. But yeah, I'm gonna say Tet. Let me go to my rankings quick on this last one. Anyone else? We got about 6 more minutes here before 12:30 comes up. Let's see my ranks. Where are they here? Flex ranks. Of course, I had them back to back. But did have Travion Henderson ahead of Tet. Tet has an injury coming into this one. So, JRS, hope you're still listening. Go with Travion. I don't want to go. I should not have ignored this. I don't want to lean towards a guy with a hamstring injury coming into a game because that literally means any snap, not just any play that he gets a target, but any snap that hamstring could act up and you're left with like nothing. And that could happen in the first quarter, it could happen in the fourth quarter. But yeah, JRS, I need a safer floor. Already got London. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah, Henderson would be the safer floor play for sure. Okay, so there you go, JRS. No problem. And Mike comes in with another one. Pick one for a friend. Sure. Ertz, Fannin, or Musgrave. You got to go with Grandpa Ertz there in garbage time today. Look forward to the third and fourth quarter there. Grandpa Ertz will get plenty of dump offs from Marcus Mariota today. Got to lean that way. You bet, JRS. All right. So there you have it. That's most of the matchups. I'm ready for more. Monangai or Vidal? Ooh. That one's rough. Monangai or Vidal? So again here, DeAndre Swift's been banged up. It's a groin injury. Kamani Vidal didn't look great last week. Monangai smashed last week. I'm going to lean Monangai here ever so slightly. Again, Alt is out for the Chargers. I look for them to pass the ball a ton this week. Yeah, I'm going Monangai in that matchup, even with Swift playing. I think that Monangai is essentially. Now I know that Ben Johnson made it clear to make the point that, look, I'm not trying to just take the Detroit offense and implement it here into Chicago. We have different weapons here in Chicago, blah, blah, blah. But he is using a two-headed monster at running back. And if you're going to compare the two running backs, Swift is more the Jahmyr Gibbs and Monangai is more the David Montgomery. Now, Monangai could take over, though, more opportunity as this season continues to roll on. Monangai is the guy that this regime drafted. Okay, so they like him. Dude's coming off of 176-yard performance. Again, I'm going to kind of lean the hot hand here, plus the fact that Alt is out, and I don't love the Chargers rushing game going into this one against the Steelers. Like, the Steelers just shut down Jonathan Taylor last week. What did he have? Under 50 yards. And obviously today, I mean, JT hasn't lost it, right? So I think that I'm going to lean Monangai there for you, Charlie. That's what I was thinking. Hopefully Kyle can get some red zone touches. Yep. Also, if they blow out the Giants, he could get some of those late touches. That's a great point. I wasn't thinking about, yes, if the Bears build a big lead, they're definitely going to rest DeAndre Swift if he's already coming into the game banged up. So then, yeah, if the Bears are up 30-20, if they're up 30-10, whatever, in the fourth quarter, you're going to see a healthy dose of Monangai for sure there. Yes. All right. Great question, though, there. I love trying to work through these start sits because they're so tough in flex position, the deeper leagues you get into. And Monangai and Kamani Vidal are great examples of, obviously you've been working your waiver wire or you did your due diligence to get Monangai on your team via the rookie draft or right after your rookie draft. So it's really good to see that paying off for you now, Charlie. I know the feeling. And it's tough to start over Vidal, who looked just last week was considered a smash start, but now you have an injury there. Now the Chargers did go out and trade for a lineman from the Saints who can basically play every position on the line, but he's not Joe Alt. Okay. So yeah, I'm leaning heavily towards the Chargers slinging it around the yard a lot today. All right. Any other questions? I'm ready to hammer it away. I'll stay here for another few minutes. If we've got questions, I am going to help you out here. That's what I'm doing here. All right. Anybody else got any? Let me look at. So again, we're looking at the deeper running backs. Terrell Jennings and Sean Tucker in that first game I talked about, the Pats and Bucks, both defenses are very good against the run. So I wouldn't be too excited starting Terrell Jennings or Sean Tucker in this one. Rashad White, again, decent in the pass game. So I think he'll get, like, if I was debating between Rashad White or Trevion Henderson, I'd lean Rashad White just because of the catches, I think. Moving on to, let's see, Buffalo, Miami. Ollie Gordon is out, so keep that in mind with Rashad White. If you've got to, you can play him. Ray Davis, another scenario where if the Bills get out to a big lead, they might not run out the clock with James Cook. They might throw Ray Davis in there or Ty Johnson. If you had to ask me between Ty Johnson and Ray Davis, I'd actually probably lean Ty Johnson in a neutral game scenario. But if it comes to grinding it out in the fourth quarter, then Ray Davis might get more looks. So I'm going to lean straight up. I probably, if I had to, I'd plug Ty Johnson in there because he's going to get looks either way. And he's a great receiving back out of the backfield. He sneaks into the end zone all the time. Jordan Mason, again, Aaron Jones is going to play. He got banged on his shoulder last week. He went out of bounds and literally landed right on his shoulder. So I wouldn't be playing Aaron Jones with a whole lot of confidence today against Baltimore. Let's see. Jets-Browns game. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and tell you to play Dylan Sampson. As for Isaiah Davis isn't a terrible one. If I had to lean a team that's going to get the lead, though, like 20-3, it'd be the Browns. Okay, the Browns defense is for real. The Jets, what they had of a defense is not. I mean, they literally got rid of their two best players on defense. So, 20-3 Cleveland is the projection there. All right. Well, if we don't have any more start sits, thank you for joining us once again and the Dynasty Rewind. Rewinders, be sure to check out the Discord weekly on Dynasty Rewind. Get into the chat rooms there. We've got plenty of forums, start sits, dynasty trades. We're helping you with redraft leagues in there. It's a great tool to use for your fantasy football teams, whether they're dynasty or redraft. We try to help you out either way that we can here. This is the Birdman. I will be back with the Sunday night recap following those 3/4 o'clock games. Look forward to it. Enjoy your football Sunday.